Welcome to the I2 podcast. Our passion is to see the influence in everyone lead to impact everywhere. I'm so excited to jump into our episode today. Are you ready? Let's go.
I'm so excited about today's podcast and joined with one of my good friends, an incredible man, husband, an ex-NFL star football player, incredible in stature, standing at a whopping 5'8" or so.
Very, very tall.
In counting.
Very tall.
My man, Danny Woodhead, is here with us today. Danny, man, it's so good to have you here.
Thanks for having me, man.
Come on, bro.
I feel like that intro was a little bit, of a lie, or maybe the way you said it made me sound better than I really am, but I appreciate that.
Hey, well, that was just the pre-intro.
Oh,
the real
okay.
intro.
All right.
We're good friends, and I know a lot about you, but I wanted to do a little research and find a few statistics. And so I found, a list of your football statistics. But before I read them, I just wanted to ask you, do you know some of your statistics off the bat? If you were to just list some of your highlights, your statistics, what would you share?
There's two that I know. And that's my career rushing record, or it was a record. I don't think it is anymore. But I would say in college, because it was just a little under 8,000.
Woo.
And then
7,962.
Yeah, so it was
You're pretty close.
A little under 8,000. And then I know this is, if there was one individual statistic that I really, I wouldn't say was proud of, but if I look back and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool, it would be the touchdowns, because touchdowns a team thing, and you help the team score points. So I think that's a little significant. And in college, I don't know how many rushing or whatever. I think I had 109 total.
109. Yep.
So that, looking back, that's pretty cool. Like,
dude.
I've never been a person that's been big in stats, just because who cares?
Right.
If your team sucks, then who cares what your stats are?
Right.
But fortunately we had some good teams.
And I think part of it, totally a picture of who you are as a person. You're not going to be the one promoting yourself and sharing stats, but just for our listeners to know, like you said, 7,962 rushing yards, second all-time in history in college football in all divisions. Bro, that is amazing. You won the Harlan Hill Trophy 2 times, Division II's version of the Heisman Trophy. Phenomenal. 200-plus rushing games. You did that 19 times, and 38 games in a row, you scored at least one touchdown. The list goes on, so many stats. Played in the NFL, and I can't wait to get into your just NFL journey, but you played for 4 different teams?
Yep.
4 different teams in the NFL. And just a story of, as you'll hear, number one, God's grace, a story of just starting out kind of small under the radar, but a story of ultimately just getting to experience some pretty cool things. I want to start from the beginning, and just for those who don't know you, just let us know, where did you grow up? Tell us a little bit about your background and just what life looked like as a young Woodhead.
As a young Woodhead, it would be, I was born in North Platte, Nebraska, born and raised there. Went to high school. Everything was North Platte, Nebraska.
How big was North Platte, Nebraska?
North Platte, Nebraska would be, I want to say 25-ish thousand. So,
Okay.
it's not huge, but it's not, some people think Nebraska is just cornfields, and
Everybody I know thinks Nebraska's
and it's
cornfields.
200 people a town.
Right.
Like, that's what, and then they get here and they're like, oh, you guys have human beings out here. It's like, yeah, we do. I don't know. Like,
The
so
thing I get
does
is, you guys have black
Wyoming and
people?
South Dakota. They have a couple black people, I think 11, but
I get that all the
isn't
time.
it something like that?
Seriously.
No, that's, I have a lot of, with being in the NFL.
Yeah.
The majority of my friends were black people, and they're
Right.
like, do you have any black? It's like, yes. Like,
Right.
There's a ton.
There was
Like,
5 of us.
There were 5, and then or 4 or 5, and then there was marriages that had kids. So
Yep.
yes, there's more than that now. But yeah, North Platte, Nebraska. I born and raised there. Mom and dad had an incredible mom and dad as far as the way they raised me. At least the way I see it. I'm so fortunate. Raised me to love Jesus and have a personal relationship with him, and I think that's probably number one out of anything that they did. I think first and foremost, that's the best thing they did. I feel like, they probably, instilled some discipline and work ethic and stuff like that. But when it's all said and done, those things really don't matter.
Right.
If you don't have your number one set in your kids, if you don't teach them that, then really what are you as a parent? So I was very fortunate with that. Had 3 siblings growing up. We ended up adopting my cousin once I was about college. So there's 5 of us now. And I love sports. My dad was a PE teacher and a coach. My mom stayed at home and homeschooled us from K through 8. Very close-knit family, and man, I'm so blessed with the way that I was raised by my mom and dad, and the relationships I built with them, and then also with my siblings.
You talked about your dad. He was a coach. Family really into sports. You've got an older brother, younger brother. I'm sure competition was huge growing up. When did you know, man, football was something you wanted to pursue? Sports in general. By the way, I mean, you were a great high school basketball player.
Thank you.
We met on the court a time or two.
That's right.
You handed it to us almost every single time. Our team did win one of them.
They did, when it mattered.
But you gave it to us, and I mean, you got scoring records. You were a great scorer. You ran track in high school. I saw that you have the 100-meter record.
Yeah.
10.5.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you had a pretty good high school career. So obviously sports was always a part of your history, your journey. How did you know football was your thing and you wanted to pursue that?
I wouldn't say football was really my thing until after sophomore year of high school.
Yeah.
I always thought it was going to be basketball. Like you said, I had a pretty good career in basketball in high school. And I thought that was going to be my ticket to college. And, then football happened. And sophomore year kind of was crazy. We went to state championship. We lost in the state championship, but we had a good team, and things I had a really, really big year, and I knew, so sophomore year I knew football was the route that I was going to take.
Yep. I think that was the year. Correct me if I'm wrong. You played Bellevue West in the first game of state.
Yep.
I played on that Bellevue West team. I was a freshman. I botched the snap and botched the hold for our kicker, which ultimately we lost that game, and propelled you to your NFL career. So, I mean, pretty much I was a part of your journey.
I would say you were a part of me getting to the NFL. If you look
that
at
was
it,
your breakout moment.
When I look back on the, I don't know, 17 years of football, competitive football, I would say the Bellevue West game, the botch snap really gave me a chance to get to the league. I would totally agree with that.
I pretty much feel like you're thanking me right now, which
I
I'll
am,
take
and I'm blessed to have you in my life, obviously as a friend, but I'm blessed to have you in my life as a botch snap or botch holder.
I'm never going to be able to live that one down. Yeah. So, I mean, you obviously had a breakout year. I think 3 years in a row you were all state. I mean, huge high school career. You start getting recruited in college from Nebraska. Obviously, Nebraska is a huge school. Ultimately, the school that you wanted to end up at, they didn't really recruit you. You end up at a small school. Talk about that process and not getting the school maybe that you wanted, but going to where they wanted you.
I would say the process sucked.
Yeah.
I hated it.
Yep.
As far as just everyone telling you no, that sucks.
Yep.
And I didn't enjoy it. And then I went to a camp in Nebraska, had a really, really good camp, ended up talking to Coach Solich on the phone because I was heading to another camp because that's just, how it is in the summers with camps.
Yep.
And I went to another camp, I was on my way to Shadron, and he called and basically said, "We're not going to offer you. You're not big enough." And that was probably a tough one to swallow a little bit. But I was so blessed that I ended up having a really good camp at Shadron, and they ended up offering me Very fortunate they offered me the first full ride that they've ever offered, and to me that was good enough. I wanted the opportunity to play D1, but once I wasn't getting a D1 scholarship, I knew that Chadron was going to be it because my brother was already there, and I was getting free school.
Yep. Which ultimately,
I was my dad.
huge.
My dad was a teacher and a coach, and my mom
Right.
stayed at home. So like money, it wasn't. We didn't just have plethora of dollar bills, y'all.
Hey, that's exactly right. Free school, education, get to pursue something you love. Ultimately, you don't know where it's going to lead you, but you walk through this open door at Chadron. Obviously, you still probably have high expectations for what you want to do on the football field. Want to get into just kind of how that college experience with the football started out, but also just want to point out, I know there's so many people, I love what you said, man, the process sucked.
Right.
Like it
terrible.
wasn't fun.
No.
And now you can look back on it and you can just see part of the story and how it unfolded. But I think there's many people, when it comes to just our influence, our calling, there's these seasons where we don't know how it's going to work out. And
Yes.
we have to choose and decide how we're going to embrace maybe the challenges that we face, the disappointments. And so I love how, you chose to embrace this next season at Chadron, and you made the best of it. And ultimately, obviously, it led you farther looking back. But talk about that.
Yeah, I think, like I said, the way I was raised was key to how I probably live life.
Yep.
And I think that probably with everyone, the way you're raised, I mean, that's going to kind of, the way you live your life, there's going to be some things that how you grew up are going to impact the way you live. Well,
Yep.
I knew that God had a plan for my life. I remember
It's huge.
I remember my parents and my mom always saying, "Hey, just go through the open door."
Yep.
And that sounds easy, right? I mean,
Yep.
but when you're a 18-year-old kid and you think you deserve a Division I scholarship, it's a little bit harder because you think you've done enough
Yep.
to get here or there or wherever it may be. And, maybe some people with the same accolades did, but that's okay because God had a plan for my life and I'm okay with that.
Right.
And I mean, it was tough at first, but it was also like, you know what? He has a plan for our lives. Let's just follow through those. You can say open doors, follow the path, whatever it may be. It's just eventually, at least me in my life, when I have things happen, I have to just come to a point where it's like, all right, dude, like you've kind of brought me this far.
Right.
I'm going to trust you in it. I'm going to surrender this, college football.
Yep.
And I think once I surrendered the college football and I was going to go to Chadron, not only was I ready to go play, but I felt like God shifted in my mind too. And he's done that many, many times when things have went wrong, but he's shifted my mindset.
Right.
And it was like, all right, let's go kill it here. And that was kind of my mindset.
I love the scripture. God works all things together for the good of those who love him and are called according to his plans. And so even though we don't always see or understand what he's doing, man, he's always doing something and he's working things together in some way. One of the things I talk about is like personal dream versus God's purposeful life that he has for us. And many of us have a dream that we're chasing and pursuing.
Right.
And I tell people, man, if things went the way I wanted them to go,
Be a lot different.
It'd be a lot different. We wouldn't be sitting here right now.
Right.
I'd have a ton of really good things happen in my life.
Right.
But I wouldn't be the person I am. I wouldn't be having the impact that I'm having. And I think about your story and so many of ours, man, we have these personal dreams, but God says, no, I got something bigger than just a personal dream. I have a purposeful life. And on the road to that purposeful life are some challenges.
Right. And the thing is, if things would have went just the way as your personal dream,
Yes.
where's the clinging to Jesus as much?
Where's he at in the story?
Exactly. And I think that's been the biggest thing for me throughout all the different trials that you may have in your life is,
Yep.
you know what? And I always come to the point, it's like, all right, God, if this is what it's going to take for me to just like hang on to you,
Yep.
even though I know you're hanging on to me, like if this is the thing that's going to keep me hanging on to you, I'm okay with it. It sucks, but I'm okay with it.
And that's such a mature perspective. I love when I hear your story. One of the things I wrote down is it's not about the size of what God gives us or where we start, but it's about how we steward what God gives us.
Right.
And your story of stewarding, man, you didn't get Nebraska, but you're at Shadron. Now you're working your butt off trying to use that opportunity to get to where you felt like God wanted you to go. Talk to me about your work ethic. And how did maybe missing out on what you wanted fuel your work ethic at Shadron?
I'd say, yeah, I mean, there's definitely things that fueled it. When people talk about a chip on your shoulder, yeah, did I have it? I probably did.
Yeah.
But I think some of it was also I wanted to be the best I could be, but I wanted to be there for my teammates and have them rely on me. So work ethic, I guess when people say, man, you work hard, it's like, I mean, I think I work hard.
Yeah.
But that's also just kind of what's been instilled in me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like I don't feel like
it wasn't different than maybe what you were doing all your
I don't
life.
feel like I'm going above and beyond.
Right.
I feel like I'm just doing what it takes to do the job. I have to do, and maybe is it above and beyond in some people's eyes? Maybe, and probably.
Right.
But I don't see it any differently because if I'm going to have, say, a goal or say of being a great teammate, well, every single thing that I do, there's going to be a purpose for it.
Right.
And I'm going to make sure
Right.
no stones left unturned, no matter what. Because when it's all said and done, I want my teammates to say, that dude was always there for us.
Right.
He always made sure he was never slacking. He was never missing out on reps.
Yep.
Because I wasn't going to be that guy. If there's someone, and there's guys like that, that wasn't going to be me.
Right.
So I just did everything I could to, hopefully be the best teammate and obviously best player I could be.
I love how you just keep talking about, it was never really about just you trying to reach your goals, but really being a team player, really trying to pursue all that God had for you. You go through college, again, face a little disappointment, but have an incredible college career.
Right.
Ultimately, they take a chance on you in the NFL. And, I've heard you tell the story just about kind of your journey and thinking you get hurt and thinking you're going to get cut. And ultimately a door opens up. Tell us about just that story and really how, again, you got to a point where you had to trust God and trust his plans for your life.
Yeah. So it would have been in 2008 when I was in training camp. I had a really, really good spring. It'd be spring ball-ish, but it's OTAs, mini camps for the New York Jets. And I was in a good place, and I, as far as like the opportunity to make the team. Well, day 2, I end up getting high load in a non-contact practice. Like there's supposed to be no tackling, no nothing.
Do you remember who it was that did that to you?
Yes, yes, I do. I do remember, and so I end up getting high load, and that means someone hits me up high for people that didn't play football, and someone hits me low. So it's not the body's not gonna agree with that. Well, I end up tearing my left ACL, and I remember being on the way back or on the way to the doctor's office because they wanted to confirm and make sure it was a torn ACL. And I remember telling my wife, I said, I'm done with this. It was the day before my older brother, my best friend in the world, was getting married, and I had to miss it because I'm chasing after this dream.
Wow.
And was I a little bit mad at God? Probably.
Yeah.
I probably was.
Yeah.
And I remember her saying, it's going to be all right. We're going to figure it. And I'm like, no, I'm never playing football again. I'm done. I'm a 5'8" white running back from a small school. And this is when now there's a few guys that have gotten chances, but now white running backs,
the way, right?
White running backs were not in
Unheard
the NFL.
Of. Yeah.
And I was like, this is done. And she goes, and being the wife that she was, she's like, just let's take a deep breath. And I was like, I don't want to take a deep breath. So I get back in I don't know if it was just the patient room, and I remember just praying and being like, God, this sucks, and I still remember him saying, no, you're going to play. And I remember obviously didn't see him.
Right.
But kind of in my maybe I was closing my eyes and was like looking at him and being like, you don't know the NFL, do you? You really don't have any knowledge of this sport.
Right.
Like, you don't understand the odds.
You started to try to help God understand like the reality of the situation.
Bro, I know you created everything, but like, this isn't happening. Right. And I after a few minutes of trying to explain to God, he said, no, you're going to play.
Wow.
You do your part. And my part was to work hard and rehab as hard as I could. Wow. He was going to do the rest. And obviously, I mean, look at me where I'm at 10 years later. I obviously ended up playing. And
wow,
it was that was one of the first times football-wise outside of the records in college or some of the stuff in high school that I was like, holy crap. Like, what are you doing with my life? And then the next time was I get fired by the Jets. And then I think I'm done. Get fired on a Tuesday morning after a Monday night game. Driving back, was in Omaha Friday night. Get a call from New England. Get back. You need to be on a flight at 5 a.m. I'm like, fine. Well, I'm there. Right. Well, they're playing the Jets that week. So I'm thinking they're just getting intel. Well, we fly out. Everything gets delayed. And in my head, I'm like, I don't know if this is the only week I'm going to be on the roster, but I got to get there by 4 p.m. in order to get paid that week. Wow. We got there at like 3:57. And at that time, that was very huge because I didn't know if I was going to get any money. Right. Well, that week, Kevin Falk gets hurt. The third down back for the New England Patriots. Yeah. And I ended up getting an opportunity to play way earlier than I thought I would. And then things kind of just took off there. And I remember that first week I scored a touchdown. I remember sitting in our extended stay. It's like a little hotel room-ish. Looking at my wife, and we're watching SportsCenter, watching highlights, whatever it may be. And I was like, I kind of looked at her like a little bit wide-eyed, and I was like, what did God just do?
Right.
And wow. And I felt like he kind of even took off more from there.
Such a cool story and journey, and it's just crazy. It's like one full of challenges. You think, okay, you get through high school. Right. All right, college doesn't work out. You get through college. All right, finally you get to the NFL. And then in the NFL, man, breakthrough with the Jets and then cut by the Jets and then picked up by the Patriots.
It's been nuts. And the thing is, like, it happened everywhere. Yeah. Every stop.
Yeah. It never stopped.
It was high school. It was college.
Right.
It was the NFL. It was when I was still doing good or when I was really breaking through, then something else happened.
Right.
And then it would go, it would be every level keep going up, but then it's like, oh gosh, something crappy happened. And I think there's two things, like, or not two, there's a lot of reasons I feel like, but I think, number one, I think God wanted to be glorified. And I think because if you look at it, every time something happened, like the odds were like
stacked against you.
Just terrible. And God kept putting me up a little bit more. So what does that do? Well, as long as hopefully my life like rang this, it actually gives him more glory. Right. Because it was him and not me. And so I think that was the number one. And, it was also like, I was okay with it because God trusted me with it. God trusted me with crappy situations. And, I mean, looking back, it's easier to say, but it's like, that's kind of cool. It's not like, oh, man, God, that's really cool. I had microfractures in my foot. Like, that's a lot of fun. Not like that, but it's just like he trusted me with it. And more than anything, I was able to get closer through those times. And when I look back, and I don't have a Super Bowl ring, but I have all these other experiences that were God experiences, I'm cool with it. A ring's a ring. That's so temporary. But,
even though you did play in the Super Bowl and you did catch a touchdown pass from Tom Brady in the Super Bowl,
that
no
was
big deal.
That was cool.
That was cool.
It's just crazy because it's the whole plan that he had was not my plan. I wouldn't. I would not write it. No, I don't want to write that plan.
Right, because you don't want to go through it. I mean,
I don't want to go through the crap, man.
Your football journey reminds me just of life. And sometimes we think, man, if I get to the next level, it's all going to be good. If I just make it to play in the NFL, man, it's going to be good. But there's so many challenges that life throws out our way, but God uses it all. And when we look back over the course of our life, when we look back over the course of time, we can actually step back and say, "Oh my goodness, God, you actually did know what you were doing.
Right.
You actually were. You actually
plan
understood
makes
the
sense
NFL
now.
better than
Now it makes
better
sense.
than I understood.
But isn't that kind of how
man.
life works, though?
Yeah.
Like something terrible, terrible you think happens,
right?
And maybe it was terrible.
It's all relative to our
God's
own
always
situation.
you're always gonna see why.
Yes.
Sometimes it's years after.
Yes.
But you're always gonna see why.
Yes.
And God answers prayers, man. I was listening to a Judah Smith podcast during right before retirement, and his dad died, and his dad had like 30 some prayers
Yep.
that he wrote down. All but like 5 prayers were answered.
Wow.
Those 5 prayers were answered after he died. So he does answer prayers.
Come on. Yes.
It's just, our timing's not always the best, and our
Yes.
plans aren't always the best.
Yes. So good, man. So good.
Yeah.
What about, so you're in the NFL.
Yep.
I always like to just hear some good, fun stories in
Right.
NFL. What is, like, I guess, what's something people see professional athletes from a distance and they have a certain perception or perspective.
Right.
Like, give me a window into, like, what is it really like to be a professional athlete? Like, just what are some of the challenges? Like, what's a more realistic picture of a professional athlete?
Well, I think the most realistic pictures that we're real people.
Yep.
Because with fantasy football, with fantasy just sports period,
right.
It's almost like they're not people. They're
Right.
just like these video game characters.
Right.
And I'm seeing that now as I'm playing fantasy football a little bit. But
Yeah.
I think because of all the things that I heard and almost like social media stuff you get, like I thankfully understood, but they're real people.
Right.
And it's a real job. Like my standard days, like during game plan week, which
I
would
remember
be
you
a
had
game,
some long
it was like
days.
5 to 5.
Right.
I mean, like that's a work day.
Right.
And it's long. But also, not only are we real people, like we're like some of the goofiest people, just like anyone else. We like
can
to have
attest to
fun.
that.
Yeah, we like to have fun. We
Yeah.
like to joke around,
Yeah.
and I just feel like sometimes, and I did this too before I played. You put these athletes on like pedestals
Yep.
that they're so great, whatever, and hopefully they are great
Right.
role models.
Right.
But you put them up here, and then almost to a point that they're not real human beings.
Right. Right.
And I think the biggest thing that I would love for people to understand is like, no, they're human beings. Yes, they
Right.
get compensated more than a lot of jobs,
Right.
but like they have struggles. They have
Right. Right.
they have tough times in their life. Their kids get sick.
Yep.
I mean, their kids get sick. They
Do your
argue-
kids, are they up at nighttime? Do they ever come to your bed or anything like that?
Gosh, like exactly. And that's right when the kids were younger.
Yeah.
And it's just like we deal with the same things that everyone else deal with. And I think it's hard for people to believe sometimes.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, they have all the money. All the money. First of all, money doesn't. What does money do?
Right.
Nothing.
Right.
Maybe help you can buy groceries.
Right.
You know you can have a house.
Right.
But I think there's a lot of people that are in that space anyways that
Right.
know they can buy groceries.
Right.
And know they can buy a house or rent a house or pay their mortgage, whatever it may be. So it's just they're real people. They have real struggles. The money that's not going to help you if you have a kid throwing up at 2 a.m.
Yep. Yep.
Like that doesn't help you. That
You don't just call somebody.
yeah,
and have them
exactly.
take
That
care
money
for you.
doesn't help you when you and your wife are in an argument.
Right. Oh.
Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't help you when you're in
That's good.
traffic and you have someone in front of you that's really annoying you.
Right.
It just
Right.
doesn't. So like we deal with everything
That's good.
in the same way that everyone else deals with
That's
it.
good. As you've been out of playing for what has it been, a year and a half?
Yeah, year and a half.
Year and a half. What are some of the things that, like, some of the best memories you look back on from your time playing professionally?
I'd say, obviously, playing wise, the Super Bowl, even though we lost, was great memories. But I would say the best memories are not football.
Yeah.
I would say as far as with the team, it's
Yep.
the times that you're in the locker room joking around with
Yep.
guys, or
Yep.
guys are in the hot tub or cold tub and you go and do a cannonball in it, like stuff like
Yeah.
that. Like that, that's funny.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's fun too.
Yeah.
And then as far as family, like what I look back on, I look back on San Diego when our family really started to grow.
Yeah.
We had Gia when we moved out there. Then we had Will, Maisie. It's like that's when we became a bigger family.
Yep.
And that's the memories. Maybe going to Disneyland. Maybe not just Disneyland, but maybe we would go. Something we love to do was we love to go out to breakfast. So
Yeah.
whenever we got the chance, on Tuesdays were my day off, we'd try to go out to breakfast. Like, I remember that stuff.
Yeah.
That's the stuff that like I'm gonna care about.
Right.
I don't care how many games I won. I was
Right.
fortunate to play on a lot of winning teams, but
Yeah.
I don't care about it
Right.
because that doesn't do anything for me. Like, what's that do for me?
Right.
I can go talk to someone at a banquet and be like,
Right.
"Yeah, I made the playoffs this many times." Well, you're a loser. If that's,
I feel like it's so hard for most people until you've had success. It's hard to fully understand that when you look back over your life, the things that you remember the most are the people, are the relationships, are the experiences. I think it's one of the beauties of playing a professional sport. You're so young. I mean, you're what, 33? 34?
Yep.
So you're 34, you're retired. You've been retired for a year and a half.
Right.
But you hit such a level of success in life. You can actually look back now and see those things that are important that a lot of people don't see or experience until they're in their 50s or 60s. Like that's a pretty powerful perspective to have at such a young age.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely cool. I mean,
Yeah.
we're all blessed.
Right.
We are, and in different ways. And I feel blessed that where I am at my life right now, and it's pretty cool. It really is. I
Awesome.
mean, it's also something too that I think if you're not rooted, if your faith's not rooted right,
Yep.
I think it can be a very dangerous thing because say you have all this success, what's next?
Right. Right.
And I
Yes.
think if
for a lot of people that's a hard transition to
right,
make.
and if your life, if what you care about, if in some ways identity
Right.
is that,
Right.
it's going to be hard.
Right.
Because I struggled in that. I didn't feel like that was my identity at all.
Right. Right.
You know, it's so like it's a great thing
Just
and it's
figuring out
unbelievable.
what to do next after
Right,
football
and just like
what that rhythm
what-
looks
and
like.
what do
life
I
looks
do?
Like. Yep.
You're never going to be back at that level.
Right.
You're just never going to.
Right.
And that's
Right.
okay.
Yep.
But so it was also a trying time, but man, I'm so the space that I'm in now, a year and a half later.
Yeah.
I love this side of the NFL, man. I love this side of the NFL.
Being able to watch it, have your own fantasy.
we love it.
Talk
That's-
about it.
That's like a date day for my wife and I.
That's so
we,
cool.
We enjoy it.
I mean, you talk about your wife, and all throughout your story, we hear about your faith, we hear about the challenges, the journey, but you've had like family there from day one. You talked about your mom, your dad, your brothers, your sisters, your wife, Stacia. You guys have known each other for a while. Just talk about the importance that your family has had on your life, on your journey, from your wife to your parents to your brothers, sister. Like, man, talk about that.
I think because I knew my wife so young, we dated freshman year of high school.
It's crazy.
Never
That's
broke
so
up.
cool.
We were together for 8 years before we got married, and so I'm very, very blessed in that end.
Yeah.
I already kind of mentioned my parents,
Yep.
but I think them as a whole. Before I talk about maybe my wife,
Yep.
I had such a good. I don't know if you want to say supporting cast of people, but people that
Big
support.
time.
I mean, supported you. They were never going to let me get to where I had like a big head.
Yep.
Because it's like,
Yep.
no, you're Danny. You're our brother. You're our son. You're our boyfriend, husband, whatever, at what stage of life. And so I never felt, I don't know, superior.
Yeah.
And thankfully, and I don't know if that's kind of how
That's
I was raised or
huge.
the supporting
Yeah.
cast. So that was huge as far as the NFL. As far as dealing with, the professional lifestyle and what it all brought. And my wife was incredible. The stuff that she did for me daily, as far as lining who comes up like for a game. Like,
Yeah.
I'd never
Which that stuff is a lot.
That
Like
stuff
the ticket
was
side of things.
crazy.
I know.
And I never had to deal with that because she
Yeah.
took care of everything. She made sure, hey, do you need to get a massage this week?
Right.
So like when some people say like she was really like my assistant. Like like I don't know how I would have done it without her. Whereas there's some single young kids doing it. I have no idea how. My wife made sure that I had this, that, and everything done. And then she also took care of, people coming out. And then she took care of our kids. She took care of getting the kids to different. I never could take them places,
Right?
Because I was always gone. And when you're in the league, like you don't get days off.
Right.
I mean, like you don't get Christmas off. You don't get Thanksgiving off. You don't get days off.
Can't like take a game off just to like go hang out with your
exactly.
kid.
Like I never like this is crazy too. Like we have 4 kids, 4 C-sections. I never once stayed in the hospital.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
And she's a trooper for that because
Wow.
the next morning I had to be there or I had to be with the kids. It was just
Right.
a tough deal, but she I think she made it possible.
Yep. I mean, the whole phrase, show me your 5 friends and I'll show you your future.
Yeah.
It's like the people, and for you to have them around you from day one,
Right.
and to be a part of the journey with you, encouraging you in your faith, in making decisions, in who you are, humbling you, invaluable from a reaching your potential perspective. Anybody, you want to reach your potential? Man, look at your circle around you. Identify who are those people speaking life into me? Who are those people keeping me humble?
Right.
And not afraid to tell me what nobody else maybe wants to tell me so that I can carry the right perspective in life.
I think that's the biggest thing though is having people that are comfortable to kind of call your crap out.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have that, whether it be, things you struggle with or if like, hey, you're being a jerk right now, dude, like chill out. If you don't have those people, I think if you have just a bunch of yes men around you,
Right.
then it's going to be all about you.
Right.
And I think if you're talking about if you're ever going to reach your potential,
Yep.
you have to have people that can tell you like if you did something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But
So
those
good.
people will also tell you if you did something right. But they can
Yep.
also knock you down a bit.
Right. To keep you on the right path.
Exactly.
I mean, we're talking about using your influence to impact the world, and a lot of Danny's story, which I love, is really how do we maximize the influence we have? How do we reach our God-given potential? How do we become all that God wants us to be? And then how do we use that to impact the world around us? And so playing in the NFL, man, God gave you a platform. In the locker room, obviously you're around the community. People want to talk to you. He gave you resources. Talk to me about how did you decide and where did you decide to use your influence to impact the community, the people around you? Where did you decide to give? How did you use your voice? Like, what did that look like?
Well, I would say just like even in the NFL, when I was in the NFL, you're saying,
yeah.
So I would say my biggest thing is when people say, talk about my career, what I want to talk about is the people that I knew. Like I wanted to talk about like, what did they think of me? And not me being like, hey, Johnny, like someone's going to ask you. No, I want someone to ask like, hey, what was Woodhead like?
Who was Danny Woodhead?
Yeah.
Yep.
And I don't want them to be like, I mean, hopefully they thought I was a good player.
Yep.
I would hope that. But like, that's not important to me. I want people to be able to say like, he's a good dude.
Yep.
Like he cared for people. You could talk to him. There were times when I was struggling and I could talk to Danny.
Yep.
And it didn't matter. And even when he was, one of the guys, as far as like on the offense or whatever, I want that practice squad guy or the guy that got cut to be able to say, Woodhead was a good dude and he was always there for me.
That's good.
Even though he's, maybe one of the players in the limelight.
Yep.
Because that's what, like,
It's good.
looking back, that's what's important to me. So,
Yep.
so why am I saying the way I tried to use my influence was just trying to treat people right
It's good.
and like trying to love them,
Yep.
and be someone there that will listen to them and give them advice if they ask for it.
Yep.
But that's what I'm trying, and leading into what I'm doing now, like yes, there's different things. I love to speak. I love to be a part of different organizations. Yeah, that's great.
Yep.
But when I'm off the clock, when I'm not speaking,
Right.
when I'm not helping an organization out,
Yep.
I think that's when your influence is even more,
That's good, bro.
because it's your life.
Yeah,
And that's what's
that's
real.
good.
And so I'm hoping, and I hope the people that I'm around would say kind of the same thing as someone that I hope someone in the locker room would say.
Yep.
Woodhead's a good dude. Like, he's there for me. Like, if I needed something, I could call him up and be like, hey,
Yep.
could you come help me do this?
Yep.
So that's kind of what I'm trying to do as far as influencing is
good.
I want to be a good friend. I want to be a good dad, a good husband, but I want to be a good friend. And I hope in some way I'm spreading Jesus's love, and I have, because that's what we're created in, is his image. And I want that to be seen.
So good, bro. I love just how authentic, real, practical that is. Like, I mean, you and I've heard either people ask you, and maybe I've even asked you, like, man, what did you do like in the locker room? Because we know there's all sorts of conversations happening in the locker room.
Right.
And people are saying all sorts of things. And consistently you say, man, I was just trying to be there and be present and be a positive model that hopefully people could talk to. Like, the consistency of just doing life the right way is one of the most powerful influences we can have on the people around us.
Well, and I think, I mean, there are definitely days that people would look back and be like, yeah, Woodhead had a bad day.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, they're like,
all of us.
yeah, he was grouchy.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's real life, right?
Yep. Yep.
But I'm hoping that my life will shine more as I mean, how do you want to, I hope, yes, I hope I was happy. Someone that's had a different spirit, because we have the Holy Spirit. But I hope the joy of the Lord kind of was shown.
Man. Come on.
Because it's not so, I mean, yes, I try to be there for people.
Right.
But it's not really what we do.
Right.
I think it's, Jesus
Yes.
living in us.
Yes.
So it's not necessarily just us.
Yes.
I think it's just the Holy Spirit just kind of shining.
Yes.
And that's my hope, man.
So good.
I mean, like I said, there's definitely days that I'm a crappy person and people don't want to be around me. Ask my wife.
I was going to say,
my kids.
We could talk to our wives.
Exactly. But
right.
For the most part, I'm hoping that like there's a little bit of the love of Jesus, because otherwise I don't want to say I'm not doing my job, but I want, as long as my relationship's right with Jesus, I think it's going to shine in some way.
I think ultimately our influence is who we are, not what we do.
Right.
And so you're talking about, man, just being who you are, allowing that to spill over and for people to experience that. I will say this, though. You and your wife have been incredibly generous with your resources, with your time. I mean, even being a part of this podcast, serving. I know, a friend of ours, Paul Lamphere with the Hope Center, and you've been a part of some things there. Talk to me just briefly, like, how do you guys decide what to be a part of, what to give towards? How do you decide where to spend your energy in doing some of those things?
Yeah. I think that's something God will give you a heart for, or as far as if we feel like we're supposed to be doing something in an area.
Yep.
Like, there have been many times that I don't want to say felt uneasy, but I always, with the resources God has given me, I always want to use it correctly.
Yeah. Yep.
Because I think we have a responsibility. I mean, everyone with their resources. It doesn't matter if it's large or small.
Yep.
Because if someone's resources are small and they're like, well, I don't have to. No. You still, like, you want to be responsible with that.
Big time.
And I think the biggest thing that we would do is we'd say, God, if we need to give anything to anyone, let us know. Just let us know. And I remember time and time and time again, God let us know.
Wow.
So to answer your question, really, we haven't done anything.
Yeah.
Like because God puts things in our way.
Yeah.
So like say we're just living life and it's like, God, please figure something out. If maybe it's not time. Maybe it's not time to give anything anywhere.
Yeah.
And I think there's plenty of times where it is. But then he's probably going to ask you for a little bit more maybe the next time.
Mm-hmm.
Because maybe he's building something up. But
Right.
it's just like we're not going to do anything, because if I try to just decide like, okay, there are things that
Right.
you can do and you may want to do, but it's almost like for me, it's a surrendering of my resources, my money, my time, whatever. And it's just like, just please show up if I'm supposed to give somewhere. And God's done it. So like, I don't feel like I have to do anything.
Yeah.
And because God will show up and he's going to continue to show up.
Come on, man. Come on. Danny Woodhead here. And I just love the theme, bro, throughout your story is like, I'm just being me. I'm just being who God's called me to be. But you live with your hands wide open. You live in a way that postures yourself, that says, God, I want to use what I have, whatever way you want to make a difference. If you speak to me about giving, if you speak to me about sharing, whatever it is you speak to me about, I want to try. Not that we always do it. I know,
Right.
man, you're always the first one to say, I don't always follow through or do what I'm supposed to do. But there is a posture there that says, God, whatever I have, it's yours, and I want to use it however you want me to.
And I think it's a posture of your heart.
Yeah.
And hopefully more often than not, it's, to just kind of open and letting God just kind of do what you want.
And I think we can all relate to that. Like you said, doesn't matter the size.
No.
But we are called to steward whatever it is he's given us. And when I think about your story, from small beginnings to, man, big impact and all that God has called you to, you've consistently stewarded what God has given you in those different seasons. Not perfectly,
No.
but to the best of your ability.
Right.
And it's so cool to be able to look back and just celebrate. And the cool thing is, man, you're 34 years old.
That's
Young
right.
brother.
No,
looking trim, fit. I can tell you've been in the gym. Bro,
I needed that.
Your best
I needed
season. Can we just show a picture just somewhere? Like, can you just lift up?
Yeah,
we want to flex your muscles. Show us that ab.
It's funny you say that, though, because sometimes, like, you get done with, like, work or your career, and you're like, man, that was good.
Right.
Yeah, I'm still like that. Like, man, that was awesome.
Yeah.
I really, really, really so strongly believe that, like, I'm living my best life now.
Come on, man.
And I feel like it's only going to get better.
Yeah.
It was cool, but it was just it's really a blip in life. 10 years was it's a blip.
Yeah.
And it was awesome, but I feel like the life I'm living now is my absolute best life, and I really believe that the best is yet to come. I really, really do.
I believe it, bro. And I've seen it in you. I love that you're going after it. Love you as a friend. Love you as a leader. Love your family. And I just hope anybody and everybody listening today, you would be encouraged, no matter what you have, big, small, whatever it looks like, whether you're at home with your children, whether you're working a job, whether you're playing professional sports, you've got influence. And God is calling you to become the person of influence so that you can use that, so that your influence can bleed over and impact the people around you. You don't have to do everything.
Right.
But man, God has given you something, and you get to use it to impact the world around you. I hope you're encouraged. Make sure, man, Danny, is there any way people can continue to follow you, keep up with you? I know eventually you want to have some podcasts and stuff coming out.
Eventually, I want to get in the podcast world. But if you want to follow my stupidity and and just goofiness or whatever, you can follow me at Team Woody39 on Instagram, or Danny _Woodhead, because someone took the Danny _Woodhead on Twitter. So if you're looking to, maybe you won't always be encouraged because it's gonna just be stupidity sometimes, and it's fun. Or if you like to follow something with golf, come
man.
Yeah, come check it out. It's gonna be a simple man living his life and just having fun, and hopefully the podcast world, once I once I break through that and do that, you can eventually follow me on that.
Yeah, great way to follow him. Keep up just with what's going on. Super active on Twitter, Instagram, and also probably the best way to figure out when the podcast comes out what that looks like. So, Danny, again, thanks, bro. Love you, man. Thanks for being a part. Can't wait to see what God has next for you.
Love you too, bro. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for joining us on our episode today. We hope you're inspired to use your influence to impact your world.